Hi, Lani. How are you? Thank you for being here. I would like to thank you very much for accepting my invitation to participate in this special edition of my Papo de Dono podcast. It's a great pleasure for me to have you here. And I would like to ask you for introduce yourself for the Brazilian public from my podcast here, please.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and to meet your followers. I am the author of The Million Dollar One Person Business and Tiny Business, Big Money. These are books aimed at the one person business economy. And I know your country is a hotbed of entrepreneurship, and I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes, thank you. I'm here with your book, your the first book from yours that I read in 2000. I wrote here. I bought that in 2019. The book is from 18, I think, no? Yes,
2018,
18.
it went into paperback in
Okay.
2021. And then Tiny Business Big Money came out in 2022. And I continue to write about the subject for Forbes pretty
Okay.
much every month. There's a lot going on in the world of the one person business. And as you and I discussed, there's been a tremendous growth in the number of $1 million one person
Yeah.
businesses. If I'm talking about US $1 million, and in professional services businesses that are getting to 1 million. Businesses like your consultancy, consultancies are a big area. So I'm just so thrilled because of the work that you're doing on
Mhm.
this front to spread the word about how to build these businesses. I'm so happy to have this conversation.
Thank you also to participate with us here to bring your experience for us. And how did you come up with the idea of to writing about the one person business model?
Well, I've been a journalist for many years and I worked at Fortune Small Business Magazine. I was a senior editor, and what I noticed was although I wrote about many scalable startups, the subject matter that interested readers most was the one person business. And
Okay.
so I started digging into it, and I found that there are more one person businesses than any other kind of business.
Of
So
course.
more people are starting them, but there was very little information about how to run them successfully. And I started looking into that, and that led to the work that I'm doing now.
That is also with the same. Of course, I didn't wrote yet a book about that. It's maybe for the next year, but about this book in particular, could you tell us a little bit about this book, the idea to write about that, and not just to exemplify, for example, the one person business model as itself, but how did you come up with the themes that is inside this book?
I looked at census data on what is in the US called the non-employer business.
Hmm.
Those are businesses that have no payroll. And I noticed that there were businesses in almost every industry that had revenue above 1 million. And I knew a lot of freelance creatives. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze.
No problem. No
and,
problem.
and, and, um, and they weren't making $1 million. So I started looking into exactly what they were doing, and I couldn't really find out except for the general business categories from the census data. So I published a post just about that on Forbes, and I asked the readers of Forbes if they were running these businesses to write to me, and they started writing to me and sharing what they were doing. And it was fascinating because basically they were optimizing a lot of new and low cost tools and technologies that we have, like um, apps, cloud based software. At the time, there was no AI, but now they're using AI also. But
Mhm.
also using contractors to extend what one person can do, to basically using other one person businesses.
in your time that you wrote this book, it was your experience also to work just with service or also with digital products? And nowadays, what are your experience in this business model also?
Well, there are some main categories that people are using. So, e-commerce is one, professional services, personal services. So, for instance, maybe somebody is a nutritionist, but they have a course about how to cook healthy or something like that. Um, or you could be a business consultant, selling informational products. That's one category. Another big one is real estate rental and leasing, and that's a really good one that is available to people in all industries because you can do that on the side. And a good example would be Airbnb
Uh-huh.
or Verbo. It depends on the country, but that's an area as well. And those would be the major areas in tiny business, big money. I also looked at manufacturing because now you can be a small inventor and you don't have to own your own factory to make your invention. You can go on Alibaba and find someone to help you make a prototype. You can put it on social media and see if people will place pre-orders. You can fund it on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So the upshot is it's very empowering for the average person, but we do have to learn from each other because you can't go to business school and learn these things. People are really learning from people like you who have podcasts, from online communities, because this is happening in real time. I mean, there are groups that are on Slack, they're on WhatsApp and Reddit and other platforms, just sharing information freely and helping each other to grow their businesses.
Yes, of course. And here in Brazilian, I see a journey from some different kind of people writing about that or trying to have a one person business in writing, in digital products, and in a mix from service and digital products as me, and put also some books in the future like you. And that is the direction I'm seeing right now here in Brazilian, in special direction from people that work in a digital area, for example, with ebooks and courses, because you can work from your home with no problem, with very cheap tools, and sell from your course or your products from around the world. That is also the direction I'm seeing here in Brazil. And have you just a side question? Have you ever been to Brazil before?
I have not, but I would love to come because my book is translated into Brazilian Portuguese, so
Yeah.
it's top
Oh,
of my list. I have
congratulations.
children in school, so it's a little hard for me to travel. I'm subject to the school schedules, but it is literally the top of my list. So when I come, I will definitely look you up.
Okay, of course. Next year, uh, tomorrow, I will launch our or first my big project for the next year. The name is Projeto Apollo, Apollo Project, that will be a community with mentors and some digital products, some lessons. It's a annual program for entrepreneurs to put our information and network together in a space, and having also a community to bring people together. And next year, in 2025, we will have a minimum one or two big events here in Brazilian, and maybe also in São Paulo. And are you invited right now to be with us in this event?
Oh my goodness. Well, I am so honored and I'm so happy for you that you're doing that because there's nothing like community. I mean, we all, with these one person businesses, we're in our homes working on our laptops, but there's no substitute for coming together and the energy in the room, whether it's a digital Zoom room or in person, when we come together and share ideas. And share this whole journey of building our businesses. There are a lot of experiments that we all do, and sometimes, we could start a one-person business that doesn't succeed, but there's a lot of learning that comes from that too. And that's when we come together, we can share what worked, what didn't work, and help the other people who are on this same journey so that we can all thrive together, because we're also interdependent. And those digital content creators, I've learned a lot of things from different courses and things that I've taken, and I'm really grateful to them. They're not my competitors, and even my competitors have helped me, because there's only so much work each of us can do, and so we're not viciously competitive the way maybe a bigger corporation might be. We're really a community.
Yes, of course. That is our big plan here. And I don't have more a one person business. Nowadays, I have one employee and three more contractors working with me in this big project. You can see how comes from us to the next years, no? And Elaine, do you have any idea how Brazilian market is influenced by American one in every sense?
Well, my general sense is that when you go outside of the US, it's a little bit kinder. I like the American culture of business, because I work internationally, is very fast paced, and sometimes it's a little bit harsh, I would say. And I think just the vibe that I pick up, and I'm no expert on the Brazilian market, I feel like there's a lot of warmth and connection, and it's something that we in the US can learn in our business world. I think there's more focus on being more human centric. Um, but I think Brazil I definitely feel that, when I observe Brazil from a distance, and again, I'm
Huh?
not an expert.
Okay, that is interesting. And what are the biggest challenges that you see for someone who wants to have a business, not just in one person, but a small and lean company, as I name it right now?
A lot is mindset. I think we have to be very self-directed and driven by our own initiative. There's nobody to tell us what we should or should not be doing.
Yeah.
So we have to find ways to bring discipline to our daily business, and view it as a practice, even when life is happening. Like here in the US, we have our Thanksgiving coming up, but I'm still working today a little bit. I'm going to do something with my family this afternoon, and you can have both things, but you have to find a way to keep it going with life happening all around you, so that you can enjoy the business and enjoy your life. That's a big challenge, because sometimes distraction can lead us astray. I think often entrepreneurs are visionaries, and sometimes we need to bring structure around what we do, and systems and processes
Yeah.
to make sure that they happen. And that's where I hope that the sharing that takes place on this program and in the books that I write and the articles, people take away little tidbits that, maybe you just add one thing like a scheduling app to your life that now frees up half a day. Then it gives you time to innovate, and it also makes things happen. You actually keep the appointments with your clients, and you schedule the next thing. And the execution is very important. So
Yeah.
sometimes we need an accountability partner to help us, like a coach or someone along those lines. We all have to know ourselves, and that's a challenge. What will we do well? What won't we do well? And where do we need help? And we all need help on something.
Yes, of course. I'm developing right now a app around the business management system that I try to develop some methods and tools, because I have some different Excel tables and sheets and tools that we can put together to implement in my mentoring clients, this management system for a small business. And right now I am in this direction to develop an app or something like that to give to the people the possibility to work more organized in one area and put all the information to have this lean process or this lean management system all together for a small company. That is my next project for the next year.
What a tremendous gift to your followers and to other people who will soon be following you, because it takes a lot of time to learn
Yeah.
all of that. People can learn it on their own and piece it together, but you might be saving people 2 or 3 years of trial and error just by giving them the right things to do in one spot. And I'm sure it'll be evolving, with the input from the people that use it too. So that's the other benefit of a product or service like that, is that it's constantly being iterated in real time to
Yeah.
reflect, oh, now there's ChatGPT or some new thing that came on the market that we can use. And here is how people are using it. I mean, the beauty of these ultra lean businesses is we don't need to have a lot of money to start them. In the past, you really couldn't start a business unless you came from a wealthy family, or you had some access to capital, and most people in the world don't. They have to use their own resources. But now with all these low cost tools, we can get work done without having a big budget. And like, with your business, you had to hire an employee. Eventually, if you grow, you may have to, but by then you're financially stable and you can afford to do it. Where I see people making mistakes is, it's similar to New Year's Day. If you go out for a walk or for a run, you'll see people in their new sweatsuits with their watch, and they're looking at whether they, how far they ran. And that's not really becoming a runner. Becoming a runner is you show up in your tattered sweatsuit and your old running sneakers, no matter what the weather, and you run. Maybe you're tired some days and you're not tired other days. People with starting a business, they'll go out and they buy a new, cherry wood desk and paint their office, and they focus on their website, and those things are nice to have, but
Yeah.
really a business is, do you have something to sell, and are you actually doing the work of selling it, and then are you doing what you promised? Like, are you delivering the product? Are you delivering the services? It's very simple. It's easier to go buy a new desk
Of
than
course.
it is to do those things. And so it sounds like what you're doing is helping people to know what things they need to do so that they do the right things that will actually give them a business.
Yes, that is one of my first goal with my clients, because the people here in Brazil, they try to begin a business without any idea of, for example, finance or capital, and they go to the bank and um, to have the money to do that, and then come with debits and something that bring problems in all direction. That is the problem, nah? And then ideas about management, to have or to make the marketing work. It's to have the possibility to work also with digital products or service or something like that, to mix the products now or service to sell. That is one side of people. They see in internet so many different things to as a possibility to sell. And the other hand, we have also this fear to have so many things to sell and also do nothing. That is also that brings the people to stop and think, oh, what do I need to do to have this one person business working for me and bring me money? uh, I'm working at a home or in an office as me right now, and something like that. That's difficult to not just to explain, but to bring to the people that also have the mindset that is not correct for the time the people or this person are having in this day or in this moment. Now, that is a challenge.
Well, I think there's a lot of overwhelm for people, in part because most of us are raised to take jobs by our teachers, by our families, and we our parents want us to get jobs. And when we start a business, there are things that we just have not been taught experientially. We don't soak it up unless we grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things I think that you're alluding to is cash flow. We
Hmm.
have to have some financial education. And a lot of us, I'm a writer, and looking at spreadsheets and of numbers isn't my thing, but we have to learn to either love to do that or at least tolerate it, or hire somebody. So I hire a bookkeeper because we really do need to understand it. And the hard part is for the one person business, a lot of times our personal finances are intertwined with the business. We may set up an LLC and we keep a business
Yeah.
bank account, but at the same time, where does the money to invest in the business come from? It comes from maybe from a salary at our job if we're doing a side hustle. And if we don't really understand how these two things flow together, like, okay, what bills do I have to pay in my personal life? Do I have a mortgage? Do I have to pay rent? What are my grocery costs? What do I have to pay for health care, depending on what country you're in? Um, those are some things we have to think about. But then it's like, okay, what are the costs of the business? And then you have to
Mhm.
look at what sources of money do I have coming in? That's why a lot of times people will start with a side hustle because they can't possibly save up all the money they need to
Yeah.
pay for both their living costs and their business costs and have any real momentum in the business. So they'll start it on the side, or if they're married, maybe one person will work in a job and the other person starts the business. There are a lot of different ways of going about it. I mean, if someone's very young, maybe they can sleep on their parents' couch and their parents will help them out. It depends a lot on your stage of life, too. But these are life lessons. And I mean, the number one thing I think people can do for themselves, other than, spread your joy about the business and your genuine enthusiasm for whatever you're selling, is really to understand a little bit about the finances and, just make a chart every month. Okay, this is what's coming in and this is what's going out. And is there a deficit? And if there's a deficit, how do I plug that? Maybe you get friends and family funding if you're lucky to have people that will back you. Most people can't, so you may have to do even a second side hustle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, of
it's
course.
also important to have a higher purpose to your business. Like, so for me, I have 4 children, and I always wanted to be at home when my children came home from school. And
Hmm.
I had a wonderful job in New York City at Fortune Small Business Magazine. I loved my colleagues. I loved the work that I was doing, but that couldn't both be done. So I had to start my own business, but I was always highly motivated because I needed to work and I wanted to be there for my children. So anytime I struggled with it, I would always think about the benefits of being able to work from home where my children were when they came home from school and go to their activities at school. Now someone else's why might not be the same as mine. They maybe don't have any children. They want to go mountain biking or something and they're so passionate
Yeah.
about that, and having their own business gives them flexibility. Or they have a pet and they want to be home with their pet. You don't have to work from home, by the way, but you have to know why you're doing it, because that will motivate you to learn all the things you need to know to do it well. And if you're not clear on the why, that's where I think a lot of people falter, because they're like, oh, it's too much trouble, because they don't have a bigger vision for their life yet. But I say yet because it's an evolution. We learn as we go along in life.
Yes, of course. And speaking about that, do you believe that one person business is the business model for the future, or the business model that most of people are thinking about that for the future?
I definitely think it is, because if we look at AI, certain jobs will go away.
Hmm.
And I think what's going to happen is a lot of power is going to be concentrated in the hands of big tech companies. And in the US and globally, there's been some move to break up monopolies and things like that. But basically, if certain jobs go away, the people in those jobs will either have to get other jobs or they'll have to start businesses. And the challenge is that the other jobs might not be in things that they have the skills in, and they may not be at an age where it's really affordable for them, like where they'll get the ROI on their investment if they go back to school. So if somebody's 55 years old, they're not going to get the same return on investment as somebody who's 20 years old, who's, going back to get an MBA. And if they do the math, it may not make sense. So then what do they do? Well, a one-person business, you can kind of learn on the go with all the programs like yours, with YouTube. You could take an executive education program. You can piece together what you need to know. And there's really no age discrimination against starting a business. People can quickly pick up where they left off and build on what they've already been doing and maintain their lifestyle instead of going from, being a corporate executive to having to drive Uber cars or something like that. Nothing against driving an Uber car, but
Of course.
that's not what they studied and that's not what
Yeah.
they do. Um, so I think it's going to be very important. Um, and I think the other thing is so many new technologies are coming out that make it easier. I mean, just
Yeah.
think about ChatGPT if you've been experimenting with it. Like for me, I'm using it sometimes to find research, and I think it's better than Google
I think
if you
also.
give
Yeah.
correctly. It can be helpful with things like taking meeting notes, things that are very cumbersome, but you have to do. If you lift those off your plate using Chat GPT or another Gemini or one of the other ones, then that's money you don't have to spend on help, but you could maybe hire somebody to do something you do need, like hire a public relations firm
Yeah.
that maybe you couldn't afford before. So you can reallocate your resources in a way that will help you earn more money in the business and build a more sustainable business and lifestyle. So I think we're going to go into a golden era for this. And I think there's also much more of a move towards inclusion in the area of entrepreneurship. So governments are saying this is a great thing. Instead of saying everybody has to be a job creator, they're finally admitting that the one person business even exists.
Hmm.
And I'm seeing like with our Census Bureau, now they're actually doing a lot more releases about the non-employer business and really studying it. The Fed is studying it. And I just, because I've been at this for a long time, it was not really being studied that much in the past. And I think they're seeing the economic power, which bodes well for you and me and all the people on this program who are running these micro businesses.
Yeah, I think in the same direction here, also in Brazil. Of course, maybe with more time because we have some times to think in the law direction because we need to change our uh, laws and our costs, our form of thinking, and then implement these things in our culture is also another thing to think about. But I think it's come and more quickly than we think. No, I think it's also the possibility for the future, of course. And how can I ask you? Are you writing another book for the next year or something in this direction for us to see
I'm
your work?
I am researching an idea, but I don't want to talk about it yet
Okay,
because
probably.
I don't think it's a good idea to talk about works in progress until you're sure. But definitely, I mean, I feel like because I've been covering this for a pretty long time, since about 2013 for the one person business, I have a unique window on how it's been changing. And so I feel like I can be a conduit to that information. And I built a lot of relationships with people studying this who are doing it. And um, I really want to share what I'm learning because I think globally, if we all come together and share this information, it's very powerful. It'll really unlock a lot of people's talents and opportunities, but they have to know about it. It's kind of like the 4 minute mile, right? No one thought that that could be done, and then that record was broken, and then more people broke it. Now it's not even that remarkable to run a 4 minute mile because it's been done so many times. So I think that's the case with the one person business also. Like if people know you can do it, there's going to be a certain person who loves a challenge and
Hmm.
throws down the gauntlet to themselves and says, I'm going to get to 1 million. I hear from them. They write to me. People they read an article or they read my book and they say, a year ago, I read this and now I've gotten to 1 million. And of course, I always have to vet these claims and make sure this is really correct. But um, I would say 99% of the time it has been correct, and they're doing all different things. So, we know it can be done in professional services. What else can it be done in, and I know some of the categories, but some new ones are evolving, and there are businesses that live entirely on certain platforms like Discord, or
Yeah, yeah.
Reddit or Slack. And it's just fascinating, like the cross pollination. So all of this is feeding into my next book in a very long answer to your question.
No, no
But the
problem.
book will tell me what it's going to, I think you probably find that too. I know that you do a lot of writing as well. Sometimes it just grabs you by the lapels. You
Yeah,
find that there's something interesting going on and people are interested in learning it, because the book is really about the reader, right? It's not
yeah.
about me. I'm not writing an autobiography. I'm writing about these trends.
Uh-huh.
And so I have to make sure I'm saying something that's entertaining and useful.
Of course. Thank you. And we are waiting for that. I'm here also with your LinkedIn profile and see here that of course, you are a journalist and content strategist, blogger, and so on. What what kind of activities are you doing right now that can we bring, for example, for us to read or to see about you here in Brazil?
Well, probably the most accessible in Brazil would be my Forbes column. I just posted a story last night about Teachable. The founder,
Uh,
Enger Nagpal, he founded something else called Carry to help self-employed people save for retirement. And he created opportunities for millions of people around the world
uh-huh.
by empowering people to easily put up a course teaching what they know. Now, this space of, with the courses has gotten very crowded, but I try to really keep up with, what's going on with the latest platforms that can empower the one person business. So I would say that's probably the best place. I also, in conjunction with the New York Public Library, we do a Zoom program that's open to people around the world. And sometimes we have people as far away as Africa on the
Yeah.
program, where
Okay.
I interview
It's
people
open.
from, pardon me?
Is it open?
Um,
Is it
yes, it's
free?
open.
Okay.
It's free. It's on Zoom. And if you go to www.tinybusiness.org, and I'm sorry, www.nypl.org/tinybiz, and I'll send this to you for the show notes.
Okay, then I put in the description for the
People
people.
can
Yeah.
register. Yeah, it's every month. It's on the second Monday of every month at noon Eastern time, and anyone anywhere can register for it, and you can actually meet the people from my books that are in the case studies and send them
Okay.
questions. And it's been very popular, I think, because when you read about somebody in an article or a book, they don't seem real, but these are the real people, and they've been
Yeah.
so generous about sharing what they're doing, and they're always on the front lines of the next thing that we should all be doing, and they're ahead of all of us. So it inspires me every time I interview them to just see what they're up to. And they've been so helpful, like answering people's questions. So I would encourage anybody on these calls to watch. And if English is not your native language, the good news is you'll get the recording, and
Mhm.
what you can do is use one of the transcript programs online, and and then you could use Google Translate to translate it, so
Yeah.
you can have some record of what they said in your own language. Because I know a little bit of Spanish, but I wouldn't be confident watching a program in Spanish and
Completely.
feel like I
Yeah.
retained as much as I would if I had the notes in English. So definitely join us. Helena Escalante, the my MC is wonderful, and the New York Public Library has really made this open to people around the world. It's been such a wonderful benefit. So definitely join us on the next one, and you'll have the info in the show notes about how to join. And it's always going to be free. It's through the public library.
You and in this case, you are the host in every
I'm the host.
Zoom meeting. Okay.
Yeah, I interview everybody. I love interviewing them, and I try to really come away with both inspiration and practical tips that you can start using in the next week, because often we go to these programs and we're inspired and then we don't know what our next step is. So we really ask them to give us the next steps that you can take, practical things to do right now.
Okay, another one thing that we here in Brazil we could do, and my advice for the people, if I can do that for you, is to see your LinkedIn profile, because you have, I don't know the frequency of your posts, but they are also very good, and we can also translate this. It's very quick to read about the posts that you put in on LinkedIn. It's also very good.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I do invite people to join my LinkedIn because I do write back, and I've met so many friends from around the world. I'm not sure who found whom, but Javandra and I met on LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
I was so excited to find out about the work that you are doing, because there's a report called the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor that's put out by a consortium of universities around the world, like Babson College in the US, but there's a whole bunch of partners. And Brazil has consistently been one of the hotbeds of the one person business. And we got into a conversation about it because I was so excited that he is the voice of the one person business in Brazil. And we were talking about the challenges in each of our countries. And what Javandro shared with me is sustainability is a big one. A lot of people are starting and now they're ready to take the next steps, like, okay, how do I build on what I've created and make this sustainable so that I can live from this business for many years to come? And it's such an exciting area. So I meet so many friends, and I really welcome you to write to me there. I'm on some other platforms too, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter. I just
Yeah.
joined Blue Sky, but I'm not tweeting yet. I'm learning that one. And I'm on Instagram under Million Dollar One Person Business. The others are under my full name. So whichever ones you use, write to me on that one. And
Okay.
um, it gives me good ideas for stories. I've gotten so many great story pitches and um, just great ideas for trends to look into. The nice part of being a journalist is I have some access to things like, the government press offices where I can get information that might be hard for someone else to request because they wouldn't know their way around. So I feel like I'm representing the everyday person trying to find out about these things, and I get my ideas from the public.
Okay. Just to go to the end, because I don't have so much time from you, and I'm very pleasure to have you here. We have right now 40 minutes, and thank you for being here with us. Could you leave us a final message for Brazilians who want to start or have a one person business?
I would say do the thing, whatever it is, do the actual work of the business. Don't read about it instead of doing it. I mean, it's good to learn and educate yourself, but at a certain point, you have to just get in the ring, do it, dust yourself off if it didn't work, get back up. And that's true entrepreneurship. Just give yourself the runway to do it. Don't quit your job until you know that you have momentum in your business, and you'll be off to the races. So thank you for joining me here. It takes courage to even think about starting a business, and I hope you'll congratulate yourself for taking the steps of joining this community, joining the conversation. And I really look forward to hearing from many of you about your future successes as owners of one person businesses. And thank you so much, Javandra. You are just an incredible force. And I can't wait to read more of your work and see more of what you're doing.
Thank you for being here with us to communicate and to bring us your experience in life and in this business model that is very challenging for us also here in Brazil. Thank you very much. And I will say that in Portuguese just to end our podcast here. Muito obrigado a todos vocês que estiveram com a gente aqui. Espero que vocês gostem do bate-papo que eu tive aqui com a Elaine. E querem deixar algum comentário aqui, fiquem à vontade. Um grande abraço aí, fico por aqui e até o próximo. Tchau, tchau, pessoal.